just depends on the wine.
So I think one thing to point out here when Gerald's referring to natural wine, so there's actually a movement for natural wine, and that's what Gerald's referring to. It's no added yeast. It's organically grown. There's very hands-off in terms of once the grape is grown and once the grape is in the cellar, which is different from there might be organically grown grapes that are turned into wine, but then when they're vinified, they don't use a natural process. So that is like organically grown wine. And then there's sustainably grown wine, and there's biodynamically grown, and I should say grapes, really. But there's a whole movement toward natural wine, and that's where you get kind of these, a lot of times you get these really funky flavors. The yeast can go crazy, so it can produce stuff that varies from vintage to vintage, which is very different from what I think California used to be, which is, we want something super consistent. Like if you taste Kendall Jackson or...
Shout out to my mom.
Yeah.
Wine of every housewife. Shout out to Xanax, the best friend to Kendall Jackson.
If you taste Matua, or Kim Crawford, which are like huge sellers, you don't even care if the vintage changes, and you want every single bottle to taste the same. Whereas in a natural wine, because they add less sulfur as well, so there's fewer preservatives in it. There's wilder yeast in it that's not necessarily controlled. So there is some bottle variation, and then there's also variation between the vintages.
Well, okay, I got you. So this is actually some fun fact. I follow random, like we had mentioned, like on Instagram, and I saw somebody, and I don't know exactly her name, so I hate that I can't give it the plug, but they mentioned that some mass-produced wines, or wines especially maybe coming overseas that are in bulk, that they add a bunch of sugar to it, whereas, like a smaller vineyard, y'all are kind of playing that game. Is that what's causing my hangover if I drink 2 bottles of this wine? Is it the sugar? Can I start so I need to stop eating or drinking?
Yeah, I mean,
the larger produced wines?
You might ask, like, what do people like to drink? And people always say, oh, I want something really dry. But in reality, when you look at what what's out there the most, Appetit, Menage a Trois. Which one?
Mayomi.
Oh my God. Yeah, there's so much. And I'm not going to dish them, and I'm not going to say, because they're big companies, and I don't know for a fact, but they are on the sweeter side. If you were going to analyze them, they would actually be pretty sweet on the scale.
I gotcha. Well, at the same time, though, I've noticed here you guys have such a wide collection, but you also have a lot of options for different price points, which I like. So if you're looking for that between that $10 to $15 range a bottle, but you're looking for something that you can't pick up at Costco or something, you guys definitely have that here. And that's what I like about Joy Wine and Spirits is, like, if I come in and say I'm cooking dinner or something like that, and I'm telling one of your workers here about what I'm cooking, they can normally point me to a bottle and say, how much are you willing to spend? What do you like? And they can easily do that. So you guys kind of give, what I love is the option to try something new other than your Kendall Jackson.
Speaking of trying something new, Gerald, what else did you bring us here today?
Oh, man, you know what?
Joy, that was really nice.
It's the biggest reason why you should go to a small shop, because they know their wines and they can guide you to something at any price point, because it's really easy to buy a $70 bottle. That's great. What's really hard is to get a $10 bottle. That's great.
Time out. Holler at your boy. We have some $10 bottles y'all want to point me to after we finish this episode.
That being said, you usually, hopefully here, you're going to get what you pay for.
Yeah. Right.
So, like, if you're willing to spend a couple extra bucks, hopefully that wine will be exponentially better. Because, let's face it, under $10, I hate to say it, but it is really hard to get something really good. Now, and that changes. We could find you something, let's say from France or Spain, under $10 that's really great. But if you come in and you say, I only want, I want a domestic Pinot, or I want something super fruity,
Send 'em up to
domestic.
that Oregon Valley over there.
There's no Oregon Valley for $10.
What's up in Oregon?
There's no Oregon Valley, first of all, but no, I'm just
The
joking.
valleys of Oregon. I misspoke.
or yes,
There we
maybe
go.
the Willamette Valley of Oregon.
I was going to ask you how to say.
might be one.
I thought it was Williamette, so that's also my southern redneck coming out. That's how I read it. I'm like, there's William Ette.
Well, let's see how you'd pronounce this one.
Well, it's not
This
just
would
make
be kind
fun
of
of
fun.
me, but this could
well,
be a
no,
fun
this would be
game.
kind of fun because my French stinks. I grew up on Spanish.
What's it called? So I just got back from France, and I didn't pick up
Oh,
a
darn.
single fucking word from it. Chateau Le Puy?
The poi.
Le Puy. Damn!
Very good.
That's close.
At least I didn't make a fool of myself. That's what I was hoping for. And then that's going to be a La Fleur Garde Rose.
That's about right. Yeah.
Yeah! I'm 1.5 for 2, or maybe half for 2. Yeah, so I don't really know what I'm talking about when it comes to any of these, so I like to learn a little bit about everything. Is that what, when you were mentioning dry and sweet, is that based strictly off of like the sugar, I guess, involved in both of those? Is that literally like the component that dictates what it is? Like what makes it something dry? Like in a red wine?
Yeah, it should be.
Okay.
Like, for example, if you had a port, that would have a lot of sugar.
That's the
and
dessert
would be-
wine that we're talking about
That
here?
would be the
Yeah, I know what
that
you're
would be the dessert one, yeah. Or Riesling. Now, Riesling is kind of a misnomer because Riesling can be super dry. There's one called Trocken, and it will knock the enamel off your teeth sometimes, and they're amazing. They're wonderful, and like people are like, I don't like Riesling because it's too sweet. Well, they've never really had a dry Riesling, which can be great, and I love it when people come in and they say, and I want a dry red wine, but I want this super sweet one, really, But you know what? Everybody has their individual taste. So I absolutely don't want to come off as a wine snob because I really hate that. And we do sell Meiomi and we do sell Kendall Jackson because there is a big market for those wines. And if you like that, I want to give you that. But I'd also love to give you an option or something else because honestly, Meiomi really doesn't taste like Pinot Noir. It really tastes more like Syrah. If you were going to blind them, and if you looked at the color, you would say Syrah. If you knew what you were
Could you
drinking.
do the blind, like I don't know if it's whatever the test. Could you knock that out of the park if you had to? I mean, you've got
sometimes.
Is it difficult?
Yeah, it's really it's
difficult.
super hard.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I drink the Charles and Charles that you'll have over there on the what's called the bottom shelf, and then every now and then, somebody at dinner may order something that's on the top, and at that point, I'm either blitzed or what may. So I don't know if I could tell the difference. I'd be like, they all taste $12 to me, or they all taste $80.
Well,
I'm not sure what I would be looking for.
We just had a little wine from port. It wasn't a port, like a fortified port. It was a red wine, and a couple of us thought this wine tastes like it's about $20. And it's really about a $13 bottle of wine on the shelf. So those are the kinds of things that we're looking for. They don't always happen. I mean, sometimes you'll taste something super expensive and you're like, this definitely to me isn't worth it. So I don't want to sell it to the customer for that price because it's just missing something. And then also, every day could be different because what you eat influences your palate a little bit. So maybe if you had something, or if you chewed gum, or you just brushed your teeth, or you're not feeling well, you're smoking your cigarettes, or who knows what else.
Picked it from the French. They got me hooked on it. By the way, that's the coolest tradition they have going. Not giving up wars, but sitting on those patios and just smoking cigarettes and drinking wine and crafts from like 9 a.m. Oh man, I came back with gout. Like I'm not, and I love it. I'm very proud of it. I feel like it's a badge of honor, and we're only going to exacerbate the issue here this afternoon. It seems like.
Right.
Sign me up. They call it a king's disease for a reason.
Right.
Well, Gerald, I appreciate it. That was delicious. Do we have something else we're working with, or is that?
I've got a ton of wine with me, but I poured that last one for you because that's actually a natural wine, no added sulfur at all. I don't know if you noticed, but there's a little funkiness to it. It's got a little bit of what I call barnyard. Where it just smells a little earthy, a little like you're walking around the edges of a barnyard.
Damn it! I drank that one too quickly. I didn't smell it. You know what that means? Sign me up again. So that is a good question. So like you see those people, and you mentioned people look for tannins and stuff like that. What is it that we are smelling like when it comes like when you're like you smell barnyard? Is it an actual? You're not like. Is it just the earth that it's grown around, or What am I smelling for here? Like what?
This one is probably a little bit of a bad bacteria called Brettanomyces. Brett. It's not overpowering in this wine, but it's a bug that can kind of take over. And even when it's in bottle, it can continue to take over the wine. So it's not bad now, but maybe in 10 years, the wine is undrinkable because it smells so much like that.
Do you guys drink sour beers?
Yeah.
Bread is what makes beer sour. Bread and lactobacillus?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
We're getting a little sciencey in here, and I dig it,
So
guys.
it's
I
what's
dig
considered
it.
like a flaw in the wine is now considered, like it's not necessarily a flaw. It can be if it takes control of the wine, but it can add tension and excitement in the wine.
I got you. Well, Gerald, we appreciate you coming in,
thanks for
kind of
having
giving
me.
me the ones and twos. And let me taste your wine. It's fantastic. That's you work with Natural Wine Company. I will not be butchering the names of these wines again because I'm trying not to make a fool of myself. But I have pictures of the logos. Y'all can see all those. We'll have them on the Instagram as well as on the website with the video. So,
Great.
Gerald,
Appreciate
we
it.
do appreciate it. Thanks for coming in, brother.
My pleasure.
Thanks, man.
Man, Chris, wasn't that a knowledgeable episode? Little segment.
I'm not gonna lie, it was. It not only made me want to drink a little bit more wine, not only drink more wine tonight, but drink more wine in my in general life.
Yeah, I couldn't agree with you more. In fact, we're going to pour ourselves a glass as soon as we wrap up this episode, so we'll make this short and sweet. We do appreciate y'all obviously tuning in for another episode of Transplants in the Native / No Vacancy / Stoned Appetit. You can find us all of our information at No Vacancy CO on Instagram and Twitter, and then our website's novacancyco.com. But before we leave y'all, we want to remind y'all about the chili contest this week. It's for a good cause. You can buy tickets through our website. You can buy tickets through our Instagram account. And what was that discount again, Chris?
So if you buy them through us, use our promo code, you get the free pizza from Pizzeria Locale. And just remember, this does support a good cause. The Chili Cook-Off has tons of restaurants participating in it. It just seems like an all-around awesome event. And the Broncos aren't playing on Sunday, so what do you got to lose, Denver?
In fact, you can probably drink your sorrows away of having Vance Joseph still as your head coach after your 4-game skid. And by the time you listen to this, it could be a 5-game skid because of the Thursday night game. So I guess we'll sign off until then. But anything else we need to tell the listeners, Chris?
Another shout out. There's going to be lots of breweries and distilleries, and then also Joy Wine and Spirits is going to be auctioning off rare whiskeys, things like that. So, I mean, all in all, there's just a lot of
swag.
Yeah.
I mean, ski gear. I mean, everything is going to be available for silent auction, bidding, things of that nature.
Yeah, I'm fucking pumped.
Yeah, yes, sir. Yes, sir. And then not to mention, you get 40 plus chilies to try, and then maybe someone will be a judge, but everyone is a judge because of their, they want the popular vote. So, yeah. If it's anything like Hillary, maybe we'll win. Until next episode, we say cheers and no vacancy. Thanks,
Cheers.
guys.